Welcome to the Authentic You Power Talk. I'm really excited to be here today, guys. And I really want to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves. And when we identify that we are telling ourselves these stories, you'd be quite surprised how you will start to see you've been getting in your own way. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Kristina Holle. I am the founder of the Authentic You Coaching. I am a speaker, I am an author, and a performance coach. And I really help people tap into their inner potential. And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the stories that we actually tell ourselves. And I know this firsthand because I was telling myself many stories well before I got to this point in my life in order to really feel like I could be successful or I could fit in. So, a little bit, I will just start with my story a little bit. When I was a little girl, I used to really believe that anything was possible, but I did come to realize that my life wasn't like everybody else's life. My life was very traumatic and very dark. And with that being said, I still really wanted to have such success in my life. And it's interesting because through all that darkness, somehow I survived and I got through, and I was actually extremely successful. I broke a lot of the narratives I always said to myself, I was never going to be a statistic. I was actually going to be really successful in my life. And I did that. And the way that I actually did that is that I started to imagine a life that I felt as though I really deserved. And some of the stories were bold and that I was telling myself the dreams, the adventure, the success. The story was no matter how bad the situation is, I'm not going to let that define who I am. I am going to be this brave little courageous girl and really make change in my life. And I didn't even know what I was doing at that point. I was this little bright light in the middle of the darkness, and yet I still seemed to find my way. But the way that I did it at that particular time, the story that I told myself, and it worked for that time, so I'm not going to fault it. I really learned that in order to really be successful and get out of the dark situation that I was in, I was going to have to prove that my worth, right? These were narratives that I told myself that I needed. Sorry about that, guys. So let's start that again. So, in order to be successful and be that light in the middle of all this darkness, and I still have people to this day that really wonder how I got myself out of those situations. I had to tell myself stories about who I was going to be. And it worked for that particular time in my life when I was surviving and I was getting through this stage in my life that I had a lot of shame around. And when I really learned that how powerful I was now at the age of I'm almost 50 now, and looking back and being like, wow, I can't believe I did that as a little girl. I have to honor the story that I told myself at that point. I really told myself that I wasn't going to be a statistic. I wasn't going to let my circumstances define me, and I was going to keep going. But as I grew older, these stories started to shift. And the stories that I started to tell myself is like, I need to fit in, I need to prove my worth. And that meant constantly going on this journey of scholarships, going all the way to university and doing everything for everyone else just because there was something missing inside of me. And I didn't realize that at this point. They say that hindsight is 2020 when you can look back at your life and go, oh, that's why these things happened. But I'm here to tell you that there was something missing. I was looking for the external world to really tell me who I was. That's why I was proving my worth. And because I didn't believe I was worthy inside. I was this little girl who was very neglected and very deprived. And so what I did, the story I told, is that I shifted and looked, I went all in for the external world to tell me who I was. And that meant through scholarships, through degrees, through promotions, through big jobs, getting certifications. I did it all. And I didn't even realize that I was on this path of, honestly, I would say self-destruction. And I think many of us do it. But the path, I have to honor it because it did get me out of a really tricky situation. But we have to realize when we're self-reflecting, is this narrative that you're telling yourself, is it still serving you well? So I was in corporate for 25 years in senior HR leadership roles. And I lived by these new narratives that I told myself, right? They drove everything that I did. They drove every action that I did, all my decisions. And unknowingly, and I think I'm not alone. That's why I want to have the conversation about the importance of authenticity. I was building my ego. And the ego is what built these walls around my authentic self. I was protecting myself. I was putting these walls up because I really was developing the mask or the armor quite nicely. But inside, my authentic self was hiding. It was hiding. I believe that people would not like me if I showed my authentic self. And my authentic self shows up now because I can talk about this stuff. So when I talk about my backstory, it took me 30 years to talk about this. This is not something that I just showed up. There's people out there who have a tendency to overshare, and that's another coping mechanism. I was like the vault. Nobody knew any of this stuff had occurred. And these walls that I put around me were like a fortress, but I was hiding my authentic self. And one day I really came to realize that the story that I was living was not my story. I was living the way that I thought I should live in order to feel successful, in order to feel love, because our society has done a great job with teaching us that love is conditional. Love is not conditional. Love is love. It's there. It's a part of your makeup. It's who you are. But when you are thinking that you have to prove yourself to people to get, now I realize, breadcrumbs in order to feel value, in order to feel worth, that really is an eye opener. And once I started to realize this, and the way that I did that was I wrote my first book. And when I started writing this book, I really came to realize that this book allowed me to start to open up, allowed me to start showing parts of myself. I really started to integrate who I was. I started to come to a place where I realized I don't need to prove myself to anybody, but we have to understand that we do tell ourselves stories and whether or not those stories are serving us now. So I chose to rewrite the story that's going to be much more integrated and much more interesting at the end of the day, right? The stories that we tell ourselves have, immense power. They define how we actually see the world. They allow us to have joy in our life and not have joy in our life. And when we understand that, we can show up and really believe what is possible. But the truth is, not all stories serve us. And some of us hold us back. Some of them actually whisper lies of limitations. And others will light us up and really put us on a path of unlimited potential. And when we understand that, when you understand that you actually have the power to do that, if you can put down, I had a client yesterday I was working with, and we were talking about masks. If you can put down the masks, or within my case, the armor, then you can really start to live life. That doesn't mean you go out foolishly and get yourself in positions where you're going to get hurt. You'll learn discernment. You'll learn how to gauge your story, the path that you want to go on, the life that you want to create. But I think that when we understand that we could be holding on to this armor, the old story of who we are to this day, and it may not be serving you anymore. It may be actually at the core of your limitations, the whispering lies that you're not ready. Oh, you better show up. You better show them that you deserve to be here. Or, oh, you better fit in. They're not going to like you if you show up like this. These are all lies. They're stories that you've picked up along the way that either made you feel as though you weren't good enough and you had to fit in. So I would ask yourself these questions. Are your stories that you're telling yourself to this day, do they bridge you to your dreams, or are you erecting walls? I want you to think about that. Do they bridge you to where you want to go? Are you telling yourself, I'm a rock star, I can make this, I can do it, I can get there? That's bridging. Because when we think about that story, I want you to reflect of when you've done that before. Maybe it's you tried out for a team that you didn't even realize that, all right, I'm going to give it a go, maybe I'll make it. And then you made it. That's you proving to yourself. That is a story that we want to continue. But there's also the stories that exist in us that where we erect walls, we put these walls, we put the armor up that stop us from really going where we want to go. And when we understand that is really limiting. I didn't realize that I didn't just have armor, I had a fortress on me. And that's why when I tell stories that are amusing now, because people are like, we were so intimidated by you. I'm like, what? Because my authentic me was like, I'm so fun and awesome. But my wall was saying, no, don't mess with me. I'm very intimidating. I'm no nonsense. I'm the general. But the beauty of it, that was based on the old story. And now the new story is about integration and just being all in me, all parts of me, the good, the bad, the ugly, but all parts of me. And I share this story because I really think there's such value when you can sit in a place where you understand that the stories that you're telling yourself are your stories. They're not other people's stories. They're not about rejection or judgment or thinking that, hey, I'm not good enough. The idea, this really, I don't know what speaks to you, but this really speaks to me. The idea of proving yourself of your worthiness to be somewhere, to be a head coach, to be the best person in class or on the team, that you have to prove that. That is not a healthy narrative, right? We can prove things to ourselves. That's cool. But if you're proving it to other people, in my backstory, the narrative was like, I was not going to be a statistic. That actually worked out well for me because it got me out. But it doesn't work out for me now, right? That's why it needs to be let go and evolve. Stories do evolve, but you have the power to change them. So I will ask you another self-reflection question. You know how I like these. And then please feel free to hop on if there's things that are speaking to you. You just needed to get that first bit out. Are your stories empowering you? Or are you rooted in fear and doubt? And there's no judgment here. There's absolutely no judgment. But this is about you stepping into you. This is about you understanding who you are. If we are scared to make moves or we're believing stories that little things like this, think about this one. Don't go, oh, you don't have a coat. Don't go outside. You're going to catch a cold. There's, and in our family, it was like, you're going to get a cold in your back. You catch a cold through your back. Where that comes from, I have no idea. Or money doesn't grow on trees. These are simple little stories that whatever your background was, you probably heard them around you. And it doesn't mean that there was bad intent. It just means that they were stories that were coming up that how people survived, right? The little things. For me, I had to really rework stories around what success is and what strength is. Vulnerability is a strength, but I was not raised that way. I was raised that stiff upper lip, you grind, you get through it. And when you understand, that is extremely powerful for me. Last year, 2024, when someone asked me what was my word of reflection, it was vulnerability. I'm putting myself out there that I've never put myself out there. I have been really good with that armor, and the armor was the one thing that protected me. So here I am jumping out, trying to get myself in a situation where I can put the armor down, which I'm doing now. And that's why we're talking about this stuff. I'm going to bring Mojo up and see what Mojo has to say. Always great insights, but deep reflection here. Hey, how's it going?
Great, man. You're just telling my story, man. Nail me to the wall. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So good. Big yes,
Yeah,
little yes.
totally. Oh my gosh. So the parallels are uncanny, but your circumstances are way different than mine, but the experience is very similar. The emotional journey that you've been on, so similar to mine. And so I just, all I can say is yes to everything you said. And I've not just yes because it's a great concept, yes because it is my story. My story overlaps with your story in so many ways. And I'm finding that, like you, it has taken me a lifetime to find out that what I thought was helpful, or that was going to get me what I wanted, or was going to make people like me, all those things, I had it wrong. I was living under a false pretense of what that took. So here's this phrase that came to me recently, Kristina, and I think you'll dig this. And it's a concept we're familiar with, but the words that came to me just made sense. And it's, if I become someone I'm not so that you will love me, the only person you love is someone I'm not.
Right. Think about that.
My
I
gosh,
just got
right?
chills on that. Oh,
yeah. It's a truth. And I've been doing that my whole life. I've been adjusting. In fact, my counselor said that my superpower as a teenager was adaptability, because there was so much chaos and confusion and pain and suffering that I adapted to avoid being imploded. She said it probably saved your life, Joe, or saved you from a life of drugs or crime or who knows what.
Right?
But she said, unfortunately, that superpower, which has served you so well, you continue to do that, but now you do it in adult relationships where you're not in any danger. Right. And as a result, you don't really show who you are. You're not authentic. You're changing like a chameleon to fit the environment, which makes everybody like you, but that doesn't make them love you, because they're not loving you. They're loving who you're presenting yourself to be in any given situation. And she said, and you're really good at it, but that's something you have to leave behind. And I was like, but no, it's my friend.
But I was so good at it. It's the one thing.
Right. What do you mean I have to leave my superpower behind? You've got to be kidding. Right. The
you
one
want
thing
me
I'm
to
really
be
good
vulnerable?
at.
Oh,
the one thing I'm really good at. You want me to stop doing that?
Like,
come on. What kind of counselor are you? But she's absolutely right. And I think that's where this phrase comes. If I become someone I'm not so that someone else will love me, the only person they love is someone I'm not. Oh, and that's not what I want.
Right? So good. And when you start to realize that, it's all a facade, right? So I literally was saying this to a client yesterday. She was talking about her relationship. And when we were going through the mask, she's like, oh my gosh, I have identified, I've been behind this mask, this people pleaser mask for everybody. I go, then to boot, when you're in a relationship and you show up with your mask, what do you think your partner's doing? Showing up with their mask. So you're not getting to the core of you, right? And that's sad to me. I think that's a lot of people out there.
And I've even been in relationships where I show up with a mask because that's my superpower. The other person isn't. They're very authentic. They are themselves. But here's what happens generally is, after a little bit of time, usually not too long if it's a good, close relationship, they're like, but I thought you were this guy. They won't say it in those words, but there's like a confusion on their face. Well, in this situation, you were here, and over here, you're there. And it's similar, but it's not the same. And generally what happens in close relationships, they'll say, well, tell me something that really matters. Tell me something really deep and close to your heart. I don't know. This is earlier. Not
you're like, whoa, now you're
not anymore. Now I just start gushing. I probably overshare now. But
right.
You want to know? I'll tell you. Let's go.
Let me pour it all out here, like a fire hose.
You might regret that you asked, but I'm going to give it all to you anyway.
So good.
But this journey that we're on, this very similar journey, I just want to applaud you for a couple things. One, your self-awareness and taking the steps necessary to break of the old patterns. But two, you're sharing it openly, because I don't know about you, Kristina, but I found the more I talk.
I just come back up. This is a really powerful conversation. I know where you're going with this, and I agree. So you finish your thought because, and it's funny. I want to tell you something too after. Yes, I know. Now you guys have just gotten the Mojo Christina show. Like we're gonna just chat all day, and it's gonna be really good stuff. There's good stuff here in substance.
I could eat you all day, no problem.
Oh my God.
But what I'm saying is, I've been a public figure since I was little. I always liked being up front. I liked being a musician, the ham, the comedian, whatever. But that was all a show.
Right.
But now I'm finding, now that I'm very comfortable in public and I start to be open, authentic, vulnerable, sharing stories that are painful. Well, now, not only is that good for me, which it really is, it's healing 100%. Me, but it's also opening the door for others who are like, really? You too?
Yeah.
You too? And I got people coming out of the woodworks going, I never was able to talk about this, but something that you said strikes me deep. And then they share a little bit, open the door to their story. Right. And I'm like, well, now I've got a purpose for my pain.
Yes.
Now I realize that the suffering was all part of preparation to get me to this place where I can be the wounded healer of it, you might say. Right.
Thanks, universe. Thanks for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the crazy part. I can actually feel a little bit of gratitude for the stuff that I always hated. The parts that sucked. I can say, well, I don't like the feeling. I didn't like what I went through, but if that was for this purpose where I can help others heal, I survived. I'm good. Let's go. Right.
And I think that there's something to when it gets repurposed, right? For me, I was the general. I took such pride in my head that, and no one knew this, right? Because no one knew my backstory. I hid it, guys. It was not even my best friends knew what was going on. And I was like, look at me. Look at how far I came, which is a really good thing. Sorry, guys. Really good thing to say. But what I will say, which is interesting to me, is that I was still missing a piece because I couldn't show that vulnerable side. I didn't even know how to connect to it anymore because I was rewarding myself based on being, quotation, kick-ass, strong, and be able to tackle whatever. So when people would come to me, listen how awful this is. This is where I'm really proud of myself. People would come to me with a problem. It's in HR, people would come, and I would be good. But when I would get people that were stuck in victimhood, which is natural, guys, not even a biggie, I would be boiling inside because of my stuff. And I would be like this. And guys, I'm keeping it real. I would be like, get a real problem. How awful is that? But that's where I'm grateful for the transition and understanding pain is pain. It doesn't matter what big, little, small. It's a part of the progression, but that was about me, not about them. That 100%. Is super powerful.
So this is where our story diverges a little bit because you were rewarding yourself for being strong. I was actually getting rewarded by all the people around me, especially leaders. Leader, coach, they're all like, Joe's the star. He's got the good grades. He's good in sports. He's doing good music. So I was getting all the attaboys, all the accolades. So I was getting reinforced to actually be, it wasn't fake because it was authentically me, but it wasn't all of me. So this is why now I'm pursuing, instead of pursuing happiness, I'm pursuing wholeness because I don't think I was faking anything. I just think I was only presenting a very small percentage of who I am. And it was the parts that were happy, that were excellent, whatever. But I wasn't presenting the part of me that was hurt, that was confused, that was angry, that was upset. And I was really, in a sense, I was half human. I wouldn't go to anything that I thought was negative. I wouldn't go there. And I've almost convinced myself, I don't have to go there. I'm too strong for that, which is ridiculous, but it is the story I was telling myself.
Well, it's interesting because in my life, there was a dichotomy, right? So I had complete chaos to the age of 12, so much so that I was removed and put into foster care and then went to go live with my dad, with my brother. And when we had the restart, and this is going to link to what you said, but when we had the restart, nobody knew. I went from super poor, not having food and having to beg, come back up, to going to live with my dad, where I was the rich girl with horses on a farm. And I just showed up there and I got to start over. So when I got to start over, nobody knew anything. So it's interesting because this is just hitting me right now as we talk about it, is that when I was on my own in the middle of the chaos, I was the girl. This is how I survived it. I was the girl that would give myself praise. I would get a good mark on a test, and
Yeah.
my apartment would be completely chaotic, just a mess. But my room would be my little sanctuary. And I would
Sure.
post my tests on the wall, and
Yeah.
I'd be so pleased with myself. No one was
Yeah.
telling me, but I would be pleased that I got B or whatever. But
Yeah.
what happened when I pivoted to go to my dad's place? I went external all the way. I dropped the me and I
Yeah.
went to everybody else. No one knows, it's a secret. I
Yeah.
cannot let them know about
Yeah.
this dark time. So
Right.
interesting, right?
So I didn't have that transition. Excuse me. I didn't have that kind of physical transition, but boy, I can imagine what that was like. For me, it was, oh, my voice is gone. For
Oh my
me, it was,
God, what's happening? Are you
I
okay?
don't know. Yeah, I just choked on something.
Oh my God, drink
For me,
water. Are we trying to wait? Are we being silenced? No, I think
no.
this is a really good show.
All right, let me go. Let me speak.
Okay.
So for me, I had the same dynamic, but it was happening at the simultaneously. So I go to school and I succeed in the classroom. I succeed on the field. I succeed in the youth group, music, all that kind of stuff. Then I go home and it's chaos. It's confusion. It's pain. It's a trailer park. I'm living in a trailer park. So I didn't come to school telling everybody, hey, I'm living at the trailer park. I went to school and acted like I had everything together just like everybody else did. Of course, they were acting too, which I didn't know they were acting as well. They had it all together.
So true. Oh my gosh.
So we're all doing our little acting thing, and I'm really good at acting because I'm very extroverted. And so I put on a great show. And again, it wasn't inauthentic. It wasn't fully me. It was just the parts I wanted people to see because I knew that they would give me the praise and the attaboys. And part of me is very grateful for that because, as my counselor said, I could have numbed my pain with drugs or with crime, or there's lots of other things I could have gone. The fact that I went to church and I went to youth group and I went to sports and music turned out to be a beautiful way to bring soothing.
Isn't
That was
that
my sanctuary.
amazing?
Yeah, that was my sanctuary.
That's
and it turns
amazing.
out that still serves me to this day.
So
But it was just a place for me to just be a part of me, not whole. So now as I pursue wholeness, I'm okay, and I can speak freely as you can speak freely about my trauma, my pain, and that kind of thing. And I don't wear it as a badge of honor so much, but as a story to say, this is all of me. And all of this was necessary for me to get here, right? The pain, the trauma, the sucky parts, that's as important to my story as the good parts, because if I take away any of that, I'm not talking to you right now. And I'm glad I'm talking to you right now.
Right. Well, can you imagine? Honestly, this is why I'm enjoying this conversation, is because I'm talking to you, not the mask. I'm talking to Mojo. And that was a little bit crazy. I know. Well, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, totally.
So awesome.
In many ways, I have this picture in my mind of like you and I are now maybe 8 years old. We're hanging out and we're playing and we're like, what's going on at your house? And you're just like, it's chaos. It sucks. I'm like, me too. All right, let's go swing. Right? Let's go on the swings. All right,
let's do it. I know.
But it's real life. It's just everything.
Oh my God. I would be so happy to have you as a friend when I was little. That's so nice.
Too. Yeah. But I can picture right now. We're just sitting, we're on the swing side by side.
We would be at the park because I would hide out at the park.
Just swinging side by side as high as how far can you leap off the swing? I don't know.
Let's go. Oh, I better go back before it gets too crazy.
Right, exactly. I think in a sense, metaphorically, that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're like, hey, let's hang out. Let's tell stories, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then we'll swing. We'll just play. And it's fun.
And I'm so grateful for it because I don't know if this happens for you, but I feel strong. And when I feel like all in, I'm like, all right, let's do it. Because there's such power in these experiences and these 100%. Stories.
Yes. So to that, in my mind, as soon as you said that, it was like,
come back up. I really am feeling the vibe because I like people that have gone through stuff, guys. So you don't need to hide things. It's one of those things that makes it cooler. Anyways, your one arm. Tell me about your one arm.
I'll tell you my one arm in a second, but what you just said right there is so important to me because right now, as I tell you the parts that I would generally hide most of my life, because I thought, well, nobody's going to like me if I tell them that part. I like people who tell me the truth about the icky parts too.
I love it.
So you just told me exactly what I need to hear over and over again. That you don't like me less because I have issues.
I actually like you more.
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's the story that I've been telling my whole life. The story we tell our whole life is people only like us if we're strong, if we're happy, if we're funny. That's not true. People think it's because we're real, right? The Velveteen Rabbit, if you know the Velveteen Rabbit
Oh,
story.
you do?
Yeah. So the
So
arm
good.
thing. But so as I look back on the story, just as we're talking, the vision I got was I had one arm tied behind my back for much of my life, and I could really compensate with my right arm. I was strong, I was capable, but what I didn't realize is, what if I actually got to pull the left arm out, and how much stronger could I be? How much capable could I be? The left arm was the one I hid from everybody because I didn't think it was attractive. And now I bring both arms out, and they're both strong, just in different ways.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the truth. He's the kicker. People
Kick me.
connect the kicker that people connect with the messy, the vulnerable, your stories with me. When I show up and people hear my stuff, they're like, oh my God. I'm like, I go, you can't tell me anything that's going to phase me. Let's go. But whatever.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
That's not the mask. That's why it's like even the stuff that we're doing, it's like so authentic that I really love that, because that's where we get to the truth of the matter. I don't need another lambed up, perfect kind of situation. I just need you. Show up and let's do this.
100%. So you reminded me of a friend of mine came back from a men's conference. He said the speaker was phenomenal. And said the speaker it was all guys in the room. So the speaker's doing a cheer at the beginning of his talk. He says, how many of you want to be a great leader? Yeah, rah. How many of you want to be a great husband? Yeah. How many of you want to be a great father? Yeah. And he says, well, here's the truth, guys. You're not going to like this. He said, if you really want to love your wife and your kids, if you really want to be a great leader, he said, people connect most powerfully, most deeply at your points of weakness.
Yes.
And the air goes out of the room. What?
Yes.
Because all these guys are like, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be macho. I'm the hero, right? I'm going to be invulnerable. He says different words than Brene Brown would say. The same thing. He says, humans connect most profoundly at their points of weakness, not their points of strength. So if you want to love your wife, you want to love your kids, you want to be a good boss, you got to show the weakness, because that's where people are going to be connected to you. And the whole room's like, dang.
Whoa. Well, and also that's where intimacy lies, right? Into me, I see, right? So you see them
slow that down.
Into me, I see.
Wow. Never heard that.
Right? So, well, it literally is that, right? If you're having intimacy with others, you're seeing into them, and intimacy with yourself, into me, I see.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Did you make that up? Where'd you get that?
No, I didn't make up. I don't know where I heard it, but I'm like, yes. Isn't it, honestly, isn't it fun when you start realizing words? You're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah. But, I like words more than I like candy. I like words more than I steak.
Fun.
Words are the best.
It's so fun because you're like, whoa.
It's a mind shift. Just like, whoa, holy smoke, kidding me.
It's so funny because the strength thing. Remember, I told you my dad called and I hadn't talked to him, and he was like really almost in this vulnerable state, apologetic, right? Because he brought me up thinking he is strong, very stoic and whatever.
He was your role model too.
He was, right? And his thing was, he used to say to me, mirror. Someone shows up like this, you mirror right back at them and do this. And I was just like, tough. And he basically told me he was wrong. He's like, that was stupid. I don't know where that came up from. And I'm like, whoa, I can't believe that you're starting on your own healing journey, that you get that.
Awesome.
So good. Cool. So cool. Thank you, Mojo. Who didn't love having Mojo up here? Oh my gosh. I chat every time I chat with him. It's like, we could easily be having a coffee. What are we doing now? Where are we going? But I love real, deep relationships. And you only get there when people are real. And what happens when you get really good at it, you can see when my BS meter goes up, and I can see right away when people are not real. But I can meet you where you're at. But look at the richness when you can have real conversations with people. It is beautiful because you don't know who's walking away with some sort of nugget from whatever story was shared. And now I have another gem that's in line. I've got Lois here, how lucky am I? So Lois, come on up. Thank you for waiting. It was just Mojo magic. So I was just in the zone there. But so what are you thinking about this topic?
Girl, it's all good. I'm surprised I hadn't heard the intimacy. Is that when we actually are able to see into ourselves, we actually see into others at the same,
Mm-hmm.
because the thing is a vibration. I'm
It's
always
true.
gonna come
That's
back to
very true.
vibration. Vibration, because I know now that I know myself, I can pick up on everything and everybody around me because I know what that looks like. I know what
Yeah.
the gestures are. I know what it feels like. I know what I hear when I hear the voice. I know what the voice of that thing sounds like. So intimacy is wonderful because it gives you a lot. That's why your BS meter reads at a you
No,
can read the
it reads at
BS
a very
at
high
level
level.
one. No, level one BS, you can see that. Level
Yes.
10 BS is off. They don't even get past level one. They go to level one and I can see it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Or I may question it, and if they double down, then I'm like, oh well, he think I'm a sucker because I'm kind.
Well, and I think that there's something that is really clear, and I would love to know your thought on it.
Mm,
The idea of discernment, right? There's always going to be people
yes,
around. And
yes,
discernment really gives you the power to really see, hey, you can cut through the BS pretty quick, right? It's just like
yes.
when I see the word discernment, this is the visual I have in my head. I see the King Arthur sword that just slices it right down the middle. That's what I
Yes,
see.
and make a difference because some people, oh, I don't want to judge. Judgment and discernment are two different
100%.
animals,
Yep.
two different energies, two different animals.
Agreed.
Discernment you get when you've come to a level of wisdom where you see the patterns. The
Mm-hmm.
patterns give you discernment, whereas judgment is you look at something and then all of a sudden you pop off with something off the top of your head without even thinking about
Well, and
it
even
or
discernment
labeling.
is when you can also, for me, this is how I would like that laser, that King Arthur
Yeah,
sword,
that's
right?
split.
That split.
Hmm.
It's when you can see foolery. Like it's like you playing with me right now, you're playing, and we're
That's
going to
why I
cut
say
that
yeah, that's
loose.
why I say we give them a chance at one, but I may laugh the same way. Excuse me.
I don't know. You're not even going to get to zero. You're not coming,
So
right?
let's go back to the base. You step it off right now. And I like how you were, Mojo, were talking about the chaos in childhood. For me,
Yeah,
it was all validation came from efforts in school once I
right.
decided that I wasn't going to be educably retarded, as that teacher told my mom.
Nice teacher.
In
Oh
my
my
face.
God. Oh my
Okay.
God. Uh,
And my mom, I was only in the third grade. My mama had to explain to me what it meant after she went off on a teacher.
that's really funny.
So school is where I got validation, straight A student, and the
Yep.
clubs and organizations, and mentoring others, teachers, whatever, corrector.
Yeah.
I was a teacher corrector too. I said it backwards, but that was true too.
But you see how the teachers in this case, not that particular teacher, but
Yeah.
that structure kept you getting straight A's, doing things,
Yes.
kept you grounded. It kept me grounded
Yes.
too. It was
It,
like a
it,
North Star.
it was also my escape because they told me I couldn't get a sports scholarship because they didn't give them money to women. So you had to go to get a scholarship to go to college and you get out. And that was my, I wanted out because home life was a
Not good.
serious split. No, it was a
Yeah.
serious split because when it was good, it was very good. My dad was a
Mm,
professional musician. We had all kind of entertainers and stuff. And then it was bad. It was horrid. And the thing
mm.
is, it was
Wow.
a lot of abuse, all
Mhm,
kinds of abuse coming through
mhm.
there because we had.
Come back up. You can't stop there. Now, how lucky are we? We get this good little conversation. So let's talk. There's lots of abuse. There's lots of people coming in. It feels very chaotic.
It was chaotic, and the house was run depending on my mother's emotions.
Right.
Wherever her
Right.
energy was, that's what it was. And me and my brother had to come up with a language between us so that we can know if it's safe to be ourselves.
Right. It's true.
Should
I
we,
know.
or do we have to hide? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
literally hide
No, I
because
get that.
me and
I
him
really,
seemed to be the scapegoats. I
yep,
don't know why, because I was closest to my mom too, because I was
yeah.
really close to her, and I could feel her energy shift, and so could he. And we would say, "Is it raining?" If it's sunny, and we knew if it was raining, then you better go hide somewhere in a closet,
I
because
totally know this. I think I said I love you more because I get this. I know.
you
I'd
know.
be hiding with you in the closet. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and it made it really hard because you would feel safe for a while and then you would feel unsafe. And I came to
Yeah.
realize that some of that was still in me. A couple of days ago, I was watching something and somebody had mentioned it was a song. It was a
Mm-hmm.
song I heard, and it was singing about I just want to be safe.
Mm.
And it was a child talking about being able to talk to their parents about stuff. And man, did I break down. Oh my Jesus.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had some more healing to do on that because I never felt safe at home.
Mm-hmm.
School, I felt safe. Because school, I had a measure of control over whether or not I got what I got. But at home, it didn't matter. I got
Yeah.
whatever they was given.
Right. You're like, oh, I know
Okay,
the
this is
volatility. Oh,
yes,
it's really tough.
then in that family like that, I became the hero child where
Right.
I had to take care of everybody and it was parentified. So the thing is that even with that, I look back and I'm gonna say this: you say time for a change, time for growth, time for this. I loved that I went through everything that I went through.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
gonna be real. All the essays, all the other stuff that happened to me, the beatings, the
Yeah.
whatever happened to me, I am so grateful because
Right.
I would not be here
Agree.
today because all that stuff taught me how to fight for me
Mm-hmm.
internally. Because I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
fight on the outside because nobody believed nothing I said. And I tried to bring them worlds together, but nobody
Mm-hmm.
believed me because the picture was painted of this perfect family with this musician and all these stars coming to the house. Oh,
Right.
crap. So nobody ever believed me, or even there with my husband. Oh, he was such an upstanding a military and he was
And you're
always
like,
being
not
in
so
their
much.
presence. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
wait a minute, this is an act he put on for y'all. But I married my family. I'll be
Yeah.
real because I hadn't healed. And
Right.
that's why I had to release him as well. But you have to learn how to release those things that you think were the worst things that were to you. Because after I released those things, I thought they were the worst things. I found out it was the best thing
Well, and
because
I
it's
think
all
it's interesting, Lois, because it's resonating. I'm reflecting with my story because I hid it for so long. It was just like so shameful. I hid that part. I really didn't get to honor that little girl. So when I started doing my inner child work,
oh
that
my God,
little
yes.
girl, she was 12, right? The 12-year-old little version of myself was so courageous,
Hmm.
really took charge. I actually think it was probably something bigger, but this level of protection that I wanted to make sure my brother and I were okay because the environment was
Yes.
not okay. And
Right.
I just went and I took charge. I totally went and disclosed stuff to the right
Hmm.
people. I had family members that never wanted to talk to me afterwards, but because no one was helping her. There was serious mental health issues and
Yeah.
nobody was helping. And I don't know if this relates with your family.
I had
There
to do it much later in life. Nobody identified
right.
any of that stuff, but I had to do this coming to, I'm gonna say coming to God's moment
Yeah.
with myself later in life, where I told about everything. I was 30 because it had
Mhm.
came up while I was raising my kids, and I saw how toxic that could be being an overprotective helicopter parent,
Well, and
and
here's
I had
here's
to
the
heal.
thing. The reason why I share that is that it's really interesting. You got to come back up. It's really interesting to really see that nobody was really there. No one really, people were there, but no one did anything. And that's why I personally I had to take charge in that situation. But the honoring of that little girl, that is a part of my story. I'm very courageous. I will take leaps and do what I need to do. And here, so much so, this is how crazy it is, whether or not people like this or not. We had child custody CSA, which is child custody services, show up. They wouldn't
Hmm.
come to our house. They would hide in the parking lot and talk
Hmm.
to me and my brother privately because they didn't want my mom to flip out. So when we see that kind of stuff, that is crazy to me. I'm an adult now, I'm a parent now,
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't take action in that place,
Yeah.
right? And
It
that's
was a
so,
lot. I'm gonna say this: a lot of people didn't. In my case,
I know, that's my point.
even while I'm in the hospital with welts all over my body, they say
But
I fell down the stairs, and they said,
it's messed up. I think that there's a generational piece there. I think there's a lot of people that suffer from
"Yes,
some of these darker stories. But the point that
mm-hmm,
I'm trying to say is
mm-hmm,
that I am so grateful that I've been able to look at the story and honor that little girl in me, because
yes,
she's pretty kick-ass and she's courageous. And I brought her with me, but I hid her because I was
mm-hmm,
embarrassed of where she came from. But that little girl is what it's the bravery in that little one that will take things to the next level. She is the trailblazer. She is the one who comes on stage and will have these
yes, right,
conversations so others can do it. You're not alone,
right,
but we are
amen,
doing it together. But I
yes,
had to honor that little girl. She had to come out because she's actually taking the charge. This is a part of our healing. This is how we're all going to get to the next level, because no matter what you got going on, you're beautiful. And we have to honor
yes,
those stories for the courageous little people
yes."
that we are. Sorry, that
Oh
is
my
that
goodness!
she
No,
came
no, no,
out full
no.
force.
She needed to,
Mhm.
because that's
Mhm.
important, that people need to be able to honor that part of themselves that they were ashamed of, because that person, like you said, was kick ass. I'm gonna be straight
Mhm.
up, because it was,
Kick
because
ass.
I couldn't have done any of that stuff that I
Right.
did as a child. If you heard you heard any of the heroics I did as a child, you would say, "Oh my God, Lois, I don't tell some of the stuff because it's too much. It's way too much. I can't think of
Lois, you
all
can
of
come
it."
to the park too. You can come on the swing too.
I know, I see, but it's for me. It wasn't the park and the swing. It was the
Oh,
library.
I
I
love
wanted to
that.
understand, because they told me I couldn't. I was uneducatable. That's what they told me.
And look at
So
how far
going,
you've gone. So funny.
man, best
Yeah.
degrees, top of the class in every fucking thing. Perfect. So, I don't know about all that. I don't. But the whole thing is, my solace was the library. One, because it was quiet. My house was
Mm,
chaotic all the time,
right.
music playing all the time, people coming through all the time. I had four
Mm,
brothers and a sister, so six kids, adults, sometimes four adults at the same time. That
mm,
house was loud. The library
mm.
was my solace. I
I
play
think that's so
outside with my
sweet.
kids. So for me, and I had questions that my mother couldn't answer. That's why I said I had a mixed bag of tricks. I had a very supportive fighter mother when she felt that you were being attacked, but I also had a mother that would attack you as well. So it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know, it's not safe again. But that little girl in me, that little
Little.
voice stood up
Mhm.
strong regardless to what it was, because I never stopped fighting, and I learned how to fight well, and not just fight well, but how to fight using
Yes.
the library experience. Because if I hadn't studied all the illnesses that I had when I was super sick over 12, 13 years ago, I wouldn't be here, because I literally died.
Right.
But I figured out what was going on. So
Oh,
me being forced to go to the library to find peace also taught me how to study, which that taught me how to study, taught me how to heal myself. That
oh,
got me here talking to
so
y'all.
good.
So to
So
me,
good.
it's kind of like all of that stuff I'm grateful for. All of it. Little Lois that said, I got to figure out what's wrong with these people. Because that was the first thing I got to figure out, what's wrong with my family. Because
Well,
that's why I wanted to be a therapist at 9 years old.
well, and think about that. Think about, and this resonates, I think, for many, but it does for me in particular, the courage, the bravery of the little in you that showed
Yes.
up. And that was clever enough, come back up, clever enough to know to go to the library, to tap in. That's your intuition. That's your soul. That's your little that was telling you. I believe that. And I don't know if this resonates with other people, but there, in the middle of the chaos, there was something that would bring me to the right place. And I would just be happy to be there. I didn't need much, right? But the problem was not needing much. I brought that into the future where I was like, oh, I'm just going to do my own thing. But I
Right.
would tolerate some poor behavior that I shouldn't. So,
Right. It was
but
normal.
it
It
was
wasn't that you should. It was just normal for you.
it was no
Okay,
big deal
even
because
though
we become resilient, right?
fault, yes, definitely to a fault. Even got some toxic compassion, because I know how they feel. So I'm gonna let them.
I was
I'm
a
gonna give
sucker
that
for
a give
that.
me.
I was a sucker for that. I'd be like, oh, I know, but I would be
I
hiding
give you
behind my
that.
mask. Yeah.
Yes. So Parallel journeys, my sister.
Parallel for sure. And I think that this is why this year for me is, well, I'm typically an all in person, but I really feel it from my gut, all in, because when you look at your story, so think about your little, right? That little Lois, you were relying on yourself. You're learning these life
Yes.
skills that no one's coming to save you. No, not
No.
one person is coming to save you.
No, not at all.
So
Not even if
it's,
I ask.
I asked you, I really did. I would go to church and I would pray and I would be like, please.
Well, that was the saving grace because I believe all things were possible. And if they were possible and I didn't have them in me, I needed to go find out. That's what sent me to the library. It's possible. Show me how. I need to see it because I want out. And to the point of there were times, there were times when little Lois wanted completely out because it got that horrid. But another part of her was said, no, you got this. You can't let this happen to your sister, your brother. You got all these kids under you. No.
Lois, my goodness. And that's where we think that it's interesting because if you were a single child, then maybe that would be but you signed up before you showed up here to have all these extra people. That's what kept you grounded. I know that feeling. It's pretty dark when you're, oh my God, this is awful. But you get up.
And you say you got put, and then you put on the mask.
I'm okay. It's all good. No problem.
And you skip. No, you don't just walk away. You skip. See, everything is okay when all inside you wasn't. And for me, I got sick and tired of the lie that I was telling. And when the Mac cracked and I didn't crumble. I allowed little Lois to come back up and I was able to honor her strength. I was able to honor where she had got me. And then I was able to, I even bought, this is how serious I got with it. I went and bought a China doll with a beautiful bright pink dress that could get dirty, that could break if I dropped her. And I would use her as a semblance of myself loving my inner child.
I love this so much.
Because I had to heal that part of me. You got to remember, I was a counselor and a therapist and stuff. I had to heal that part of me, and I couldn't figure out how. And every time I even went to the hospital to get help, man, they ain't helped me. I ended up helping everybody else. I gotta go. I can't stay here.
This is my point.
That's what I'm saying. So the thing is that when we surrender and allow ourselves to honor that part of us that went through that journey that helped us through, because the thing is that it didn't kill us, it made us stronger. And the thing is that we wouldn't be here talking like we're talking in the audiences that we're talking. And I know you talking big audiences, so do I. We wouldn't be as effective had we not encountered this stuff and learned how to come out of it. That's why we're here giving our lives as our as a message for everybody else. Because we can do it. And I came from, like they said, I would never learn to read or write. To degrees and all that other kind of stuff, and then healing my body and all that kind of stuff. Doctor sent me home to die. All that kind of stuff. Gone. I was gone. But hey, pray.
And here you are.
All right. I love you. Goodbye.
Oh my God. Well, there's no one in the queue. If Lois, you want to come back up, if no one does, if someone does, I'm open. I think that these stories are extremely powerful. And like I said in the beginning, I hid mine for 30 years behind a fortress. And now just taking it down, look at what happens. Look at these conversations. They're the coolest conversations ever.
And what we've done is, and I coined this term, is what we've done is transmutational storytelling. That's what we've done with our stories. Maybe she's getting a call.
No, I'm here. I did get a call, but it's nice.
I call it transmutational storytelling because for a time I told my story in a way that was disempowered to myself and everybody around me. And now I tell my story in a way that empowers others and empowers myself because I tell it from the victory end of it, not the victim end of it. And when you're able to tell your story from being the victor, because you're here now, you're the victor. So start telling your story from that point of view. It will change your life because you will rewriting the history because we're writing this stuff as we go along with our energy. Change the energy of the story by telling it with different words, higher vibratory words and emotions. And then your life will change because you just changed that whole vibration from little Lois, from little Christine, little
Little
Chrissy,
Chrissy.
little Chrissy. We changed that because we're telling it from a different stance. So they're able to be here and we're able to encompass all our stuff because we're coming from a different angle with it.
Well, and
And when we come from that different,
no,
go
and
ahead.
I would say this. Okay, so tell me if this resonates with you, but when I started
Okay.
to open the door and I started to reconnect and really with these stories, it didn't mean that there wasn't tears there. I wasn't like, oh, high five. There was
Oh
healing.
my
Remember, we
goodness.
talked about the tears before? For me, it's the hot tears.
Yes.
Those are healing tears. This is
Yes.
literally letting the energy start to shift and move in your body. And
Yes.
now it's beautiful because literally look at the energy shift. Now we're laughing and it doesn't hurt. And that's how you know you've healed. When you
No.
can share your story and it does not hurt you to share it, that means that you have shifted and you're in a place of, I don't know, empowerment for sure.
Victory. It's not just you won when you
Yeah.
survive. You won when you. I'm gonna say this again because maybe people in the back can hear me. You won when you survived. Seriously, because you're a survivor. You weren't just a victim who
Yeah.
died. You survived
Yeah.
it. So you won already.
Mm.
Now you have to bring yourself to having victory over it by releasing those old energies about it and bringing in this new energy. And because you did survive and you
So can
won.
I add to that? You
Yeah.
survived it. Don't hide it.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to say amen. So be it. Ashe, whatever you believe. It's like, I'm in cahoots. Okay.
Right? It's amazing because just as Mojo was saying, and when you talk about it, the shame disperses. It doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
because
It doesn't
you're
win.
releasing it. When you're holding the shame, it's like trapping the water behind the dam.
Mm,
The dam don't get to
right.
flow. The water don't get to flow. But remove the dam, the water will flow freely. So you're releasing yourself from being dammed up. I used to call it backed up, constipated, and full
Emotionally
of it. But
constipated.
yeah, that's what I said. You're emotionally constipated, and you must take a dump. Lois,
Well,
clean
it
it up.
really, I got the
Clean
visual.
it
I
up.
know
Okay.
exactly what I need to do.
Because we can trap our energy in a myriad. We can trap it physically with eating food,
Hmm.
where we eat stuff that constipates us, but we are and holds us back from releasing.
Hmm.
But the thing is, with this mental stuff, we have more control and power over its release,
Hmm.
and it's being held back,
Hmm.
and it's all in a word called forgiveness.
Ooh, forgiveness is the
Okay?
gateway. What is it? It's like taking an X-lax if you're saying that you're emotionally constipated. Sorry, I crack myself up. I think I'm really funny. I'm gonna let Lois land the plane, and then I have Marianne here who wants to say a few things. Lois, right? I think that honestly, it's so funny to me, and that's where I want to be. I want to be like, healing does not have to be scary. Healing can be fun. It can be real. It can just be in a place where you just have to have the courage, the first steps to start talking about it, getting it out, releasing.
Yeah, and yes, it is the mental X-lax, it's the spiritual X-lax. I dare I say it, I might get in trouble. I ain't gonna say it. You gotta let that issue go. You gotta let it go because it is just simply fertilizer for your
Yeah.
growth. You gotta release it and allow it to fertilize you for maximum growth potential.
Mm,
That's what fertilizer is for.
yes.
And yes, it's crappy, it stinks, because I ain't never heard about and everybody smells different. And mine don't
Yeah.
stink right. And everybody got some stinky stuff in
Hmm.
them and that they're dealing with.
Hmm.
But if you release it and allow yourself to heal and allow yourself to grow, oh my God, that fertilizer is going to give you maximum growth potential. Like this, my daughter, and I'm gonna bring it up and then I'm
Oh
gonna get out
no,
of here.
they left.
This is
Yeah, I
how.
think after they heard
Okay.
X-Lax, they were like, I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is the talk for me. But like, it was spiritual X-Lax, or a little bit.
It is letting the energy flow. So this is how effective it is. You would think that your child passing
Mm-hmm.
or I like to say
Mm-hmm.
transitioning because she's still with me.
No.
You would think that that would just destroy your
Yes.
world. But I knew when she died suddenly, that I was propelled into darkness
Yeah.
immediately. I was buried under the stuff. And it felt like a whole lot of ish was on top of me when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, God, allow me to go through this. Allow me to grieve with grace. And then I got the vision of me as far down as I went. It was like if they both for the arrow to shoot
Yep.
out. I got pulled back down deep, only for me when I was able to release it. Oh my God, I've jettisoned into a space I've never been. And this was just 3 years ago. And I was talking like this 3 years ago, but not like
Right.
this.
Right. And
What I have now is totally different. And because I was allowed myself to release and embrace the change. And I was blessed, Kristina, because all the synchronicities of the numbers and all that stuff was there with her. And I knew that it was just simply her time. That's why I figured, help me be able to deal with this. And because I understood this releasing the crap, fertilize you for growth, I've propelled myself in places that I couldn't even have dreamed of.
well,
I'm gonna be real.
and it's one of those things when you stop resisting it, right? It'll go right through you. And it's a part of our, so someone asked me the other day for when they ask questions and stuff, they asked me, well, what's the biggest challenge in our human experience? And I'm like, there is no challenge. It's about your perspective. It's about living. It's about, so you're going to have birth, death, happiness, sadness, if you're living, right? It's a part of the flow of the experience. But if you're going to live your life and be contracted through the experience, you're not going to enjoy it, right? But if you can learn to manage the flow or ride the flow of life, the waves of life, then it's going to be very different. So go ahead.
So I look at it like this. You are a seed pod. And after a while, it's time for your seedling to come out of the shell. And in order for the seedling to come out of the shell, a lot of pressure has to be put off on the inside. So you feel just uncomfortable. And if you saw the seed busting and coming through the thing in slow motion photography, it looks very violent.
Yes.
And we all are these seedlings going through this process. And sometimes it hurts for us to stretch out. That's why the Bible calls it a two-edged sword. One is the scalpel, the other is the chainsaw. We get to choose.
Oh my God. Can you come back and land that plane? I don't even know what that means. So they both seem pretty painful, Lois. I think that not everything has to be painful. A chainsaw and a scalpel. A scalpel, right?
This.
I knew it would sound weird when I was saying
so if you have a problem, and it said cancer. Now, you can go to a surgeon and have it cut out, or you can just die because that happened haphazardly. So it's so when I'm saying chainsaws on one end of the sword, both ends have a point. That's what they call a two-edged sword. One is a chainsaw where you're doing this growth haphazardly, and it's in the word happens hazardly. On the other end, you have an intention to change. You have an intention to grow, and that growing requires you busting through and going into uncomfortable feelings, uncomfortable places, doing uncomfortable things because that's the unknown. So therefore, I choose the scalpel for 5,000 hours.
Yeah. So we'll just keep coming back to the table. A little more. Take another piece off. It's okay. You take another piece off.
A little bit.
I'm not ready to go yet.
That's how we grow. We grow step by step. And even though we think we're walking the same step that we walked yesterday, it's not, because I know in a day I walk and do a whole lot of walking, and I never trace my steps.
Right.
So everything is new. So everything is always changing. We're not crossing the river in the same place twice, because you've moved all the stuff when you crossed it the first time.
Right.
You
well,
know?
and you're wiser.
So
this is how wisdom emerges, right? It's intellect and experience. That's wisdom.
That's right. Let the stuff get married. And it brings balance to you. And it brings balance to the little Lois and the big Lois. It brings balance to your life. It brings balance in your family. It brings balance in your relationship. So I see change as a very positive thing. Yes, it's unknown. And I talked about change of the last three talks of the
Yeah.
year. It's like Alexa did like so long ago. Last three talks a year to talked about the different phases of change that we go through. It's like moving.
Mm.
You got to pack your bags. You got to pack up everything you want to take with you. But in the meantime, you're moving to another state. Now, these are states.
Well,
You're moving to another state. You got to get rid of some
it's
stuff.
interesting.
You can't take it all.
Well,
Go ahead.
and honestly, the word for me would be integration. When you integrate all these parts of yourself as one, the stories that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to tell are going to be very different, right? Because you're not
Yes.
operating from fear, right? So change is a piece of that, but it's the goal is to
Mm-hmm.
integrate all parts of yourself so you can live
Yes.
in alignment.
That's right. And that's how the balance
That, but
comes.
that, yes,
Because you're not saying, oh, I can't talk about that. That was too icky. I can't talk about that. That was too good. I don't want to make people
yeah.
jealous because I used to be that person, hide my
Oh,
accomplishments. Oh my
yeah,
God.
not
I
anymore.
told somebody,
No.
I told somebody I was a janitor because I didn't want, I laugh at myself now because every time I told somebody what I did for a living, they were flaking, freaking, and then I'd get, oh, I didn't like it. So I would tell them a lie. And wait a minute, why am I doing this? If they can't handle that this is what I do for a living, then they can't handle me. So what am I faking the funk for? Because they look good? Oh, because somebody introduced me to them and they're doing very well in life? No, I'm not. I don't buy in like
Yeah.
that. You know, but
Well,
when we understand that,
I
go
think that
ahead.
that's a
I'm gonna
good
let you go.
story. That's a good point. A story that you're not allowed to shine bright. What is that? Where did that
No,
pick up? Well, I've had that one too.
girl.
I think it's in our society.
Ostracized, talked about, picked on, bullied. Had to beat somebody up with my violin case. That's when that happened. When I had to beat somebody up with my violin case
Louis,
in the eighth
were you the
grade, that's
bully? Were
when
you
I
the
had to
bully?
hide my
Were
shine.
you?
No, I was not the bully. I was being bullied, but I couldn't take. I had Papa. I had all I could stand, and I can't stand no more. I was Popeye, and I used whatever I could to get that bully up
Oh, well,
off
you did
me.
good.
Picking up, then I became the bully
Oh
buster.
my gosh, that is a story and a half. It come back. You can come back up. I'm like, I'm just like. So you took a violin case to the bully's head. That's pretty impressive. I always say punch him right in the nose, but this is actually the same idea.
Well, what happened was I was being picked on every day because I was carrying a violin case because I loved to play the violin when I was a kid. I started in elementary school and I stopped playing in eighth grade. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was being picked on every day after school, every day. And you got to remember, I was going home where I might be picked on again. And
Right.
so something had to give. My side.
It's the fighter girl. She shows up.
The warrior showed up and said, I said, all I can stand is I was Popeye. And so that day, I decided I'm going to leave my violin in my locker, but I'm going to still carry the case because the girl was bigger than me. And because I was a little thing at that time.
Yeah.
I hadn't got to 5'7" yet. So she picked on me and she kept picking. And then she came across the street and then hit me upside my head and kept calling me nerd because I was trying to turn the other cheek. That's what I was being taught in church. Right. Turn the other cheek. Yeah. Don't fight fire with fire. Man, when she hit me, something happened. I know I'm serious. I'm being really straight up. I snapped. I had the police come up to the school the next day talking about they want to arrest me. And I wasn't an aggressor. Thank God for my grades and my reputation that I don't mess with nobody. Yes. That they were able to say, hey, this was fully provoked. Your daughter, lucky she ain't kill her. And here's the funny part. The girl that I had the fight with was my cousin's fiance's sister. Didn't even know it. So she's still in our life.
Oh my gosh, really? That's actually really funny. Did she ever bring it up?
She brought it up at our class reunion about 5 or 6 years ago, and we laughed about it. And she said, I never picked on another person again, because she was calling me all kinds of names because of the violin case and because I had to wear glasses, and I didn't want to wear glasses. It's just, I got picked on. And I didn't like it, and I had to fight back. And my mother told me once before that if I run home, because in elementary school I got picked up too, if I run home one more time, she gonna beat me.
I'm gonna get him 2 ways.
Yes, so I had to do what I had to do. But the thing is that the beauty is that now I know how to fight in a way that benefits me and benefits the other. And that's the beauty of it. And now I understand how Jesus was able to go through what he went through when he lived this life on earth. Because we allow certain things and we can choose certain things and we can pick certain things. And I choose to allow anything that ever happens, quote unquote, I don't believe things happen to me, anything that happens for me as a blessing, because some greater good is going to come from it. All my job is to do is to look for the gem, look for the growth from the doo-doo.
Yeah.
Because once I find the growth, then oh my God, that's the goal. That was what it was for. It was all about that. And it all shapes my character. Because I used to say, oh, but they used to say, Lord, it shapes your character. I said, wow, what am I now? Minnie Mouse, Monkey, whatever, Curious George, because those are characters. Because I feel like I was going crazy for a while there. Honestly, because I was asking, wasn't getting no help. And then the help was, I ended up, oh no, it was not cool. But the thing is that I had to change for me. It wasn't enough to change for my sisters and brothers that I was helping to raise. It wasn't enough to change for my kids. It was in order to save my life from near-death experiences and strokes and stuff. I had to change for myself. I can't nobody go to the bathroom for you.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know, it's too funny. I have a question for you, just curious more than anything, based on this conversation. So did you feel as though you could advocate for your siblings more than you would advocate for yourself?
In the beginning, yes, it was much easier. I felt guilty when I advocated for myself. I don't know why. Because I felt like I deserved that bad treatment because I was told that I was loved.
Come back up. I'm curious because that was a big problem. I could do it for the underdog. I could do it for other people. But if I was there alone, I think I would have been much more tolerant. I would have just not done it. But it was because my brother was being impacted that I took charge. And I picked that up throughout my life. I don't do it anymore, but I was just wondering if it's normal. What about you?
That's a normal process because if you've gone through something, you don't generally normal people don't want to see somebody else go through it on the real. You don't want to see nobody else go through that either. So if we do see somebody going through something that you went through, you step the hell up because you're not on my watch because nobody didn't watch
That's
me.
me.
Not on my watch. And that was me.
That's
that
why
was
we like
me
each
being
other.
a therapist, not on my watch. Because the thing is that's where the am I my brother's keeper come from? Share my story so my brother can heal. So, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was like that. Now, when it got to the place where it would happen to me and I'm going to call it toxic compassion.
Me too.
That means that I would allow myself to be hurt while trying to help somebody else or by giving somebody else a pass because they had been hurt. That's toxic compassion. Then I had to learn what real compassion was. And it started with me not allowing that person to step on my foot and not say out.
Right.
Because I would tell everybody else, say out.
Yeah.
And then I heard myself one day, I was giving somebody some advice and I heard myself say, you need everything that you're giving away. So now take everything that you're giving to everybody else and give it to yourself.
That's good stuff.
And so when I did that, this is way back when I was 35, I'm 63 now. And I'm 35. So everything from that point on, and 35 had lived a lot of life at that time. As I counseled and therapized and do whatever I do and built programs, I gave myself everything that I was giving out to the point where now I don't even give it out unless I've already got it for myself.
Right. That's the way. You got to operate from overflow. Yeah, I totally agree. That's actually really
exactly. Good. And because before I would actually do it while I'm doing it. And I never allowed it to build up enough for me to have a clear change, to clear flushing. So when I won't say when I stopped, because Lois didn't stop, when I was stopped by illness.
Yes, when someone stepped in.
There was divine intervention and I got sick. And then I had to do everything first before I could say it into anybody else because my words were becoming invalid because my life wasn't changed. So it was an eye-awakening time for me to go to the other side. And it is the other side because in order to get to the other side, I had to give that compassion to myself. So I was able to rise from my root and sacral and solar plexus chakra into my heart chakra. And I couldn't do that without having compassion for myself by putting down boundaries and saying here and no
Right.
further. Now, like that's what I'm saying. Not on my
I don't
terms,
think
you know.
so. Yeah.
I don't think so. And it all started with just saying what I want and what I desire. Go to the store and I try to get something and they try to give me something else. No, that's not what I want. I'm going to the next. Instead of saying, oh well, I'll just take whatever.
Thanks for your
And that,
scraps. Thanks. I'll take that.
okay,
Oh, I'm so
but
lucky. Go fly a kite.
yes, thank you very much. Or go to a store. You probably never had this experience. Go into a store and they start following you around.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God. And I was in a, look, 99-cent store. I was not looking like I should be in a 99-cent store. I'm going to be real. And I like getting a good
Oh my
bargain.
God.
They had good vegetables because they were organic. So I would go to the 99-cent store and start following me. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to patronize no place where I get treated with disrespect. I don't care how good the bargain is. And that's
That's a life lesson right there. Hear that out.
Girl, making those little things. So,
Oh my goodness. Lois, love you so much, Lois. Oh my God. We'll be hearing more from Lois. I just have Julie and Hugh, and then I'm going to wrap it because I know KB's on at 12, so I don't want to overlap too much there. So let's see. Julie, what is your thought about the stories we tell? And if you've been listening to this show has been on. It's been good.
Oh, bet it has.
It's like a party. And honestly, talking trauma and fun. That's what happened.
Do you know? This little image came into. I am a dairy cow. I'm a dairy cow, and my milk is the story.
Oh.
And sometimes I feel that I'm walking to the milking yard all of my own accord. Maybe I do it because it is a routine thing for me to do. I've been doing it so long. And I feel that sometimes I'm being milked for my stories.
Oh my God, tell us more. What do you mean?
I probably can come up along with other people to provide the product called cheese. Now, someone else has to put the work in, obviously, to make the cheese.
Yes.
I am the main ingredient.
Yes.
The stories that I tell. So my milk creates cheese, yogurt,
all these
milk.
Yes. So there's different stories that create different things.
Am I being milked for my own benefit? Am I bred, if you like, to produce maximum milk? This is absolutely abstract, isn't it? But I do feel that the stories that I tell can happily be given away for content to others.
Ooh.
That's very interesting now. So I think sometimes the stories that we tell, sometimes we have to own them for ourselves. Sometimes it's not always beneficial, good or bad, absolutely. It's not always beneficial to just pass those over to other people to work with. Sometimes it's your product for your offspring, if you like. Let's see if the stories are really made for a good reason, and that is to continue to nurture your children, if you like.
What about the stories you tell yourself, though? What do you think? Is it
those stories?
Are they nurturing you, or do they diminish you?
Exactly that. The stories that you tell yourself, they can. I've spoken about this many times. People know what my thoughts are. I think it depends on whether you believe all those stories that you tell yourself or not. And that can, those stories, that milk that you produce, it can colour your experience. That's exactly what it does, whether they're good or bad. They do that. They create the experience that you're going to have, those thoughts, those stories. And they can be limiting or they can be promoting. So I think the thing about it is, if the story that you're telling yourself, and maybe you're repeating it, and if you're repeating that story, you're suggesting that to yourself, and you are more receptive to your own story than the story of other people about you. You just are. So maybe a change. If it doesn't seem to be bringing you peace, it doesn't seem to be bringing you that feeling of safety, or security that you're looking for, And maybe it's time to switch up the story.
Yes. And I think maybe we just need to acknowledge that we've been telling ourselves this story that may not be serving us well.
And also just remember that those stories are yours. They're not other people's. You know, you can make, you know what I mean? Make your own cheese. Make you the feature. You are the feature. Yeah. You're not the feature for someone else. You are your own feature for your own film, your own creation, your own experience. Those stories are for you.
Agreed.
For us.
Agreed. And I think that, thank you, Julie. I think that I will be wrapping up very shortly. I think that that whole idea of the cow is the essence of who you are. And the stories, the milk, the yogurt, whatever it is, are coming from you. You are the one who generates the story. And does the story serve you or does it not? And I think that that's something that we need to remember. So every story is unique. It's actually your superpower, but it's how you connect and inspire with it, how you connect with the story and be inspired by your story that really makes a difference. It's what makes you authentic. It's how you live authentically, and it empowers others to do the same. So today, what we heard with our guests, I loved today's conversations because they're real. And you can see that people have come past pain in order to talk about their stories and connect with their stories and understand that there is beauty in their story. And the story that they had, and myself included, that we had when we are young is not necessarily the same story that we have now as an adult. So there's an opportunity there to really think about, what story are you telling yourself? And does it really serve you well? So I'll challenge you today to reflect on your story. What chapters need to be rewritten? Your childhood chapter? Is it a midlife chapter? Is it when you went to high school chapter? What chapters need to be celebrated? And most importantly, how can you step into your truth more and more? Maybe we just need to do a full rewrite, and that's okay. But it's looking at your situation, not from a place of victimhood, but in a place of power. And when we are empowered, we can do great things. When we are empowered, we are not isolated anymore. We are stepping forward and we are grounded in who we are. And I think that that ripples, and in fact, it inspires others to embrace their own truth and start rewriting their narratives and really starting to live a life of purpose. So today, I challenge you to go do that, because when we do that, big change will start happening in your life. You will see things in your life that you might have always been there, but you've been too locked into the old story that you've been telling yourself, that you haven't seen the beauty of the evolution of what is right there right now. Remember, you are absolutely amazing in this moment, with all the battle bruises, the good, the bad, the ugly. I love you. I love you just as you are. And then when you start understanding that, then you can start really doing your thing. As you know, I love to close off my shows with a mantra. So here we go. We're going to repeat them 3 times, and then I'm pouring into you. Here's today's mantra based on telling stories. I release the stories that no longer serve me. I embrace my truth, rewrite my narrative, and I step boldly into the life I'm meant to live. I am unapologetically me. Here we go. We're going to do it again. I release the stories that no longer serve me. I embrace my truth, rewrite my narrative, and step boldly into the life I am meant to live. I am unapologetically me. One more time. I'm going to pour into you now. Get ready. Take it in wherever you are. If you're in your car, if you're in your house, I want you to listen. Feel the energy I am pouring into you right now. You are to release the stories that no longer serve you. Embrace your truth. Rewrite your narrative. Step boldly into the life that you are meant to live. Be unapologetically you. All right, you beautiful souls. Thank you so much for being here today. And I just love our chats. So I will see you again. What day is it today? Friday. I will see you on Monday. And I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.